might be wondering why civil society and ideology keep appearing in UPSC papers and how to connect them in answers. By the end of this video, you will be completely clear about what civil society is, its functions, and how ideology shapes politics. Think of public life as a three-way stage: state, market, and civil society performing different but overlapping roles. Civil society comprises voluntary groups and associations, NGOs, unions, professional bodies, faith groups, student clubs, and local neighborhood collectives. These groups are not driven primarily by profit or state authority, but by shared values, needs, and collective action. In exam answers, call this the third sector or the civil sector to show clarity and precision. Visually imagine civil society as a network of small bridges linking citizens to the state and to each other. Historically, this idea is old. Cicero and classical thinkers linked civic life to public virtue, and Enlightenment thinkers refined the distinction from the state. Thinkers like Thomas Paine and Hegel saw a sphere of voluntary association. Gramsci later showed how civil society shapes consent and cultural struggle. In the 20th century, social movements, trade unions, and NGOs became central to democratization across Latin America, Africa, and Eastern Europe. And towards the end, we will understand a key idea that most UPSC aspirants miss about civil society's composition and legitimacy. Now let us break civil society into three useful parts for answers: service providers, advocacy actors, and social connectors. Service providers deliver welfare, education, and health in areas where the state is weak or absent. Advocacy actors push for policy change on human rights, environment, anti-corruption, and similar public interest issues. Social connectors build civic skills, leadership, and community networks through clubs, cultural groups, and informal associations. Each of these parts performs different functions in a democracy, which you can use as separate paragraphs in an answer. Function 1. Civil society limits state power by scrutinizing officials, exposing abuse, and mobilizing public opinion. Function 2. It empowers citizens by building political efficacy and teaching negotiation, debate, and organization skills. Function 3. Civil society promotes democratic attributes such as tolerance, pluralism, and inclusion for marginalized groups. Function 4. It recruits and trains leaders, offering practical experience that revitalizes political recruitment outside party structures. Function 5. Non-partisan groups monitor elections, detect fraud, and increase voter confidence in electoral outcomes. This concept is very important for your exams because questions often ask how civil society complements formal institutions in governance and reform. But civil society is not uniformly benevolent. Remember to balance your answer with the democratic dangers it can pose. Dangers include anti-democratic mobilization by extremist groups, capture through patronage, and elitist leadership detached from grassroots needs. Funding sources matter. Over-reliance on foreign funds or elite donors can reduce accountability and local legitimacy. Poor internal democracy in organizations weakens their moral authority and makes their advocacy less persuasive in policy debates. Now shift briefly to ideology, because civil society and ideology are often linked in questions and arguments. Ideology is a coherent set of ideas that guides political action, from liberalism and socialism to nationalism and environmentalism. Ideologies simplify complex reality into values and prescriptions, and they motivate people to act for collective goals. As a field of study, ideology also means the analysis of how ideas form and serve social interests, a critique advanced by Marx and others. Marx argued that ruling classes shape dominant ideas, creating a false consciousness that legitimizes existing power structures. Mannheim added nuance by distinguishing ideology that conserves order from utopia that proposes radical change, urging scholars to situate ideas socially. Beware of the connection to totalitarianism. Popper and Arendt show how absolutist ideology can suppress pluralism and demand total mobilization. For UPSC answers, link ideology to civil society by showing how associations transmit, contest, or transform ideologies in public life. For example, trade unions may carry a socialist idea into politics, while faith-based organizations may mobilize conservative social norms. A balanced answer notes both positive mobilization and risks when ideology becomes exclusionary or intolerant. A quick way to structure a 10-mark answer. Define civil society, outline roles, give 2 historical or contemporary examples, discuss limits, conclude with significance. Use real India-specific examples in mains answers. NGOs in disaster relief, citizen groups in RTI movements, and unions in labor reforms. The exam trick many aspirants miss is emphasizing composition and funding, who leads civil society, and where money comes from affects legitimacy and effectiveness. That is the key idea. Civil society's democratic value depends not just on presence, but on representation, accountability, and rootedness in local contexts. Quick recap. Civil society sits between state and market, includes diverse associations, performs multiple democratic functions, but also carries risks. Ideology works alongside by shaping motivations and frames. Both concepts are tools for analyzing change, mobilization, and institutional behavior. If you remember 3 things: definition, functions, and the composition, funding caveat, you can write a focused, balanced answer under pressure. Keep practice examples handy and link theory to real events to score higher in analytical questions. Warm up with short-timed answers on civil society and ideology to build speed and clarity before the mains. You've now got a clear map to approach questions on civil society and ideology with confidence. Keep revising these structures and examples, and you will find your answers becoming sharper and more persuasive. For more structured notes, model answers, and practice tests, continue learning with EduRev to strengthen mains and interview preparation.